Welcome, my friends. Welcome to Touching the Edge. Thank you so much for joining today. My name is Drake, and I'm so happy to be here. I'm happy to be here because I want to understand better. I want to understand myself and the world around me and recognize that point where the world around me and myself meet and become one whole. And so to me, this is really an important element to me because, again, we think of the pandemic as being COVID, but I think it's far more than that. What I'm suggesting is that there is an element in our human consciousness that tends to lean towards division, tends to lean towards fracture. And I think it's really important to remember that the most powerful conflicts are the ones that we have within our own families. It's just like civil wars. The most intense wars are the wars of people with themselves. And we are one human family. And so to me, one of the elements that we want to be involved with is this ability of understanding how to turn fracture into medicine. It's very similar to that image in Buddhism where you have the lotus flower coming out of the muck, out of the marsh. This nastiness and something beautiful comes out. And that is that element of changing fracture into medicine. And to me, one of the most important parts of doing this is recognize that when we have an external fracture, we also have an internal one. We end up in conflict with ourselves. We're in conflict with ourselves because we don't want to accept how we might be wrong, even in the areas that we're right. And so to me, this process of contentment, of inner wholeness, means being at peace with what is. Because when you're at peace with what is, you don't pretend that you're somewhere that you're not. It's like taking a long drive, say for instance here in Minneapolis to Chicago. You can't pretend that you're starting halfway in order to get to where you want to be. You have to start exactly where you are. And remember, if you are at the bottom, you can push off and go to the direction that you actually want to go. But you have to be honest with yourself as to where you are. So changing fracture into medicine is about coming into contentment and inner wholeness. It's about learning how to be at peace with what is so you can find your path that's right for you. And so that is the point of power. When that knowing things exactly as they are, allows you to continue to ask yourself questions rather than assume that you have the ultimate answer. So how about yourself? How are you in this process of transmutation, this alchemy of taking what's going on in the world, even though there's so much energy, and taking it and using it as a booster rocket? Remember that element of escape velocity? When you have, like, for instance, the shuttle spaceship that would go up and it would have these huge booster rockets that are firing and taking it all the way up. But there's a point where it lets go and it's able to go into space. And that's what I'm describing. We use what is, all that frustration, and use it as the means to connect ourselves with grounding and peace. Remember, your ability to be in self-mastery is not to be dictated by what is, but to be able to be inspired with what is, to do what's right in your heart. So how about yourself? How are you finding that booster rocket that you can let go of once you get out into space? So I'm going to ring the bell. I'm going to ask you to listen carefully. Here we go. Remember, your test is your testimony. And the challenges you're facing is the road that you can make a positive difference in the world if you frame it in the right way. I bring my hands together and I bow to you. Thank you so much for your time. What a beautiful life we share. Have a wonderful day.